Something interesting is happening in the gold market right now. In short, it's gone mainstream. And maybe yesterday's video is indicative of the interest in it. That video has blown up. You can check it out yourself. We'll leave a link to it in the description below. And the comments have gone wild as well. What better guest to have to see what we think about it than Brian Chu, who is Fat Tail Investment Research, is gold expert. Brian, welcome, buddy.
Hey Woody, how you going?
Good. Now, you were just telling me how you were been stopped by other school dads at school asking for your thoughts on gold. Now, this is a sure sign that there's interest in it. Whether that means we're at a peak or a top, who knows? But with the ASX Gold Index pushing past 10,000 points, we might be at that moment when the crowd really starts to pile into this sector. Now, that poses some really compelling opportunities, I guess, in gold stocks too. But the really interesting part is that while everyone's focused on the big names making headlines, there might be some better opportunities flying under the radar. Now, Brian, you've spotted an interesting pattern in how investment flows move through the gold sector during bull markets. So let's start with this. Let's start with the shift in market sentiment that you're seeing right now. When you're getting asked about gold at school pickup, what does that tell you about where we are in the cycle?
Well, the thing is, most of these school dads, they've known me for almost a year now, since Cyrus is now in kindergarten, and we've been hanging out in the parties in the past and events. And when they used to ask me, "What do you do for a living?" and I say, "Oh, I'm in the precious metals and mining stocks area," and the conversation probably only goes on for another minute or two. They know that the price of gold last year was like 3,500 and then $4,000. But at that point in time, I think we were more interested talking about children's progress, talking about the latest events going on in America and the UK. But gold wasn't quite on the agenda. Like they just go, "Oh, gold could go higher. Is it too expensive?" But now that even the financial media is talking about it, they are sensing they want to know more about, well, can this go higher? And my answer is there is a possibility that it can, and more importantly, uh, it's not the it's not where the financial media what they're talking about that you should move to. We should get ahead of the game, and
Yep.
the game is heading towards gold mining companies. Not talking about Northern Star, Evolution Mining, the biggest companies, or Newmont. Those, if you wanted to buy those, you should have bought those 18 months ago. What we're actually looking at are the emerging mid-tier producers, the ones that are combining together or buying up mines from small explorers and buying even the explorers themselves on the cheap, as well as the companies that the explorers themselves,
Yep.
because those are the ones where their market value is less than $2 billion, or most of them are less than even $200 million. And when funds turn into like move into those companies, they're really going to go wild.
Yep.
Now, there are risks involved,
Of course.
and we have to understand that. But it is worth talking about, and I believe the potential returns. I like the relative potential returns relative to the risk trade-off in this case.
And before my next call, I will just state that you know what you're talking about in this topic. I mean, you've been through many cycles over the last. Well, you've been investing in this market pretty,
More than
pretty
almost 12 years.
constant, more than 12 years exactly. So you understand this concept. And talking about getting in early, I mean, you have been doing that over the last. You've been building positions, and this is what you've been waiting for. So look, Brian, you point how differently various gold stocks performed in the 2022 downturn, right?
Yes.
From the majors that were down 50% to some juniors, which are still finding, some of them are still finding their lows despite the big headline price rises in the gold sector generally and the gold price itself. But what does this dispersion tell you about the opportunities in this current market?
The opportunities are significant on the companies that people haven't moved into. Reason is, just as Steve Jobs and Wayne Gretzky have said, I don't skate towards where the puck is. I skate to where the puck will go. And
Yeah.
at this stage, the companies that are currently quite unloved, you still have a few producers whose market value is below $500 million, and they're producing just under 100,000 ounces of gold a year. I mean, there are some companies which are producing around the same amount and they're trading at over $1 billion, like or Abanda
Mm,
Mining. So people have already realized or Abanda Mining's doing very well. They've gone up almost 3,000% from their lows 2 years ago, almost to the day.
mm,
And at the time or Abanda in 2023, very few people want to touch it. Only the most only the only those who are willing to take a huge amount of risk would be willing to do it.
yeah.
Same with Spartan Resources. Spartan Resources, 2 years to the day, was trading at around 10 cents. And they were just recapitalizing, as in they went broke twice and they were going to raise capital a third time. And 2 years later, today, Spartan Resources is worth $1.50,
Mm,
1,400% returns. Um, So there are still companies which are trading in these depressed levels, and if you want to find out more with my newsletter services. But I've noticed quite a few of these companies that are moving, and furthermore, there are it's not just price movements, but these companies are receiving offers from other companies to combine or to sell their mines because their existing deposits are cheap. So there are actually reasons backing the value beneath these companies.
yeah.
And that's where I see massive opportunities, and that's where we're going to go hunting.
um, the fact that there's these acquisitions and mergers taking place, especially in the larger producers, that they're starting to look at smaller companies and thinking how they can swallow, that tells you a lot where we are in the cycle right now, right? Do you, how do you identify potential takeover targets before the crowd catches on? Is that a strategy that you employ?
Yes, I've actually been doing that for the last 4 years. In the last bull market, as a bull market was losing steam, and I'm willing to give away one or two companies because those ones they've already ran, so you can actually go and look at them for yourself. So back in 2021, I was very keen on Black Cat Syndicate. It had one deposit, the Cow East, and they they had a deposit. They they bought in some processing facilities in the hope that one day that was going to turn into operation. In April 2022, they bought two mines from Northern Star Resources, which were Coyote and Paulson's. And Paulson's is now starting to produce. This is 2.5 years' time later. Now, Black Cat Syndicate, we bought the company, we recommended our newsletter readers buy the company from 70 cents all the way down to 18 cents.
Hmm.
It's now 72 cents, 74 cents as at the time of recording. Now, you might say, oh, Brian, your newsletter readers only broke even, right? What's that to do? Why are you bringing that up? That's nothing to poke your stick at. Well, the thing is, I recommended my readers to double down on 6 or 7 occasions. We were buying on the way down, and even for myself, my break-even price was about 35 cents. So at the moment, I'm sitting on at least 100% gains. Now, some
Yeah.
people will have gained more, some people will have gained less. But the way I identify these companies, They have confirmed deposits. They have management that have experience in bringing deposits to production. Most of Black Cat Syndicate's management is actually Silver Lake Resources. They came from Silver Lake Resources. So they've actually done their work. I also look for companies that have sufficient cash balance to go through these tough times. There were also other companies which were in a similar situation that have recently combined and brought mines into production. Brightstar Resources, which you've heard Cal talk about quite a bit. I bought into Brightstar Resources in its predecessor days of King West Resources in April 2022. And you could say for a while it was a big loser because we were down about 70%. But we doubled down all this time. And my readers hopefully are sitting on a, if not break even, maybe a modest profit during these 3 years.
But I guess the key thing is as long as if you do your homework, your metrics for a good investment have been hit. I know that you welcome paying less for that stock, because when the crowd catches on, you're going to be well rewarded. That's the goal anyway. Obviously, no guarantees. But look, Brian, there's a fascinating contrast between gold's relatively modest 20% retreat in 2022 and the much larger drops in gold stocks. Why is that? What drives that disconnect, and what might it mean for investors when the snapback happens? Because there, in all likelihood, will be one. Because if the underlying asset is going up, good quality gold explorers and developers and producers, they're producing a product that is going up in price. It can only be well, I'll let you explain.
It's an asymmetric um, return,
Mm,
like for between gold and gold mining companies. Now, gold's retreat of 20% as a bear market is a mild one in the commodity space. But even then, many of these gold mining companies, so even producers, the largest producers fell 50% from their peak in 2020 to their bottom in September 2022. Now, those were the larger companies. The smaller companies, many of them fell 80%, 90%. And as of today, there's probably about 60 explorers that are trading no more than 20% above their lows. What that tells me is the lack of the apathy and the indifference of the market towards these companies. But granted, tech stocks had a great time. Tech stocks are still doing very well. The AI boom is collecting a lot of oxygen in the media.
yep.
In the commodity space, gold was competing against lithium, rare earths, copper, nickel, oil, uranium. Now, out of those commodities that I listed, three of them have crumpled back down to earth, given back most, if not all, of its gains that were made in 2022 to 2021 to 2023 and more. And so, therefore, I think a lot of resource investors are tapped out and very much swearing off resources. And that's why even this gold rally, they might be going, well, I've been burnt hard, I'm not coming back for a while.
Mm,
So, we're waiting for the mainstream investors to come back following the lead of the fund managers. But most fund managers are still having a lot of fun in in tech stocks and chasing financials and chasing momentum. So that's why it's been so depressed in the gold stock space in my view. Even for me, I sometimes have my uh, difficult times in reconciling what's going on. But with people who've been in this space for 30 years, they do say these last 4 years in gold stocks have been very difficult. And with small companies, they needed to raise capital on two or three occasions as they were bottoming. And this really doesn't help with gaining investor confidence. But the confidence shouldn't be placed on price movements on a daily basis, but it should be placed on value.
Mm.
And that's where I still have a lot of confidence, if not increasing confidence, because even more of my companies in my speculative newsletter service, Gold Stock Pro, I'm actually getting vindicated with recent corporate activity.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to
Yep.
talk about those to my newsletter readers, and they're going to find out more. Another update, they'll get another update from me this week.
Final question, Brian, and you don't have to go to
Yeah,
specifics more broadly, but you do mention today taking profits on some positions while still seeing opportunities in others. So, final question:
yeah.
could you just very quickly walk us through your framework, and maybe this will be a nice takeaway for those watching for making those kinds of rotation decisions in a bull market?
Yes. So in the past three bull markets that I've been through, actually, no, this is my, in the two bull markets that I've been through for gold stocks, this is my third one. I'm in the midst of it. There were times when I got carried away chasing some of the winners and thinking that the rally is going to last a little longer. So I did take profits along the way, but got a bit greedy and bought in a little bit more on some companies when I really shouldn't. And therefore I wrote some back down in the bear markets. And you would, most of you should be aware that the bear markets can be quite brutal. So this time round, with better metrics that I've used, which I developed over the last 12 years and refining them, there are some of the leading companies which I believe is worth they are worth taking profits. I'm not saying sell all of them. I haven't sold all of them, and I'm not
Hmm.
suggesting my readers do the same. But we're taking about a third of them off the table and shifting it to the mid tiers, to the juniors, junior producers, and also into the speculative gold stocks. And we'll do exactly the same. We will actually leave the party early in some cases, but we're not taking the ball away on all of them. But profit that you secured is yours. Paper profit in the market is still in the market. It's at the mercy of investor euphoria. And you know what happens with euphoria. It doesn't always end well. In fact, it ends in tears.
I don't think it ever ends well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why
Yeah.
before the euphoria really takes over, shift some to places where there's opportunity, and we'll keep riding this wave all the way up and enjoy the profits along the way.
And what a better note to end that in today's video on. Thank you, Brian. Much appreciated. Check out Brian's piece below. And within that, tomorrow, actually, we're launching a new presentation, which is all about the opportunities in gold. And look out for that. Brian, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, everyone, and God bless. Take care.